Hey guys, it's Billie Eilish. Listen to today's top hits, a playlist where hits are made, only on Spotify.
Little girl, only 17 years old. Life just got in the way. Don't know what to say. She's heard it all before, lying on her bedroom floor, thinking my life has to be worth more. She dreams of going to New York City. Her heart's looking at the space where his wife once was. Wants to find us something to believe in. He hears a knock at the door this eve. She says, I'm going to New York City to follow my dreams. Would you come with me? Little girl, only 17 years old, looking at the stars.
Welcome to Watkins, Glen. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here for the opening round of the GTE League here at Motive Racing on Project Cars 2 on the PlayStation 4 and PlayStation 5 platform. GT is making a return to the channel after a couple of seasons away. We used to have them on a Monday night. So it's now been changed to the Sunday night slot for these absolute beasts of machines used in real life in the American Sports Car Championship. And right now taken to Watkins, Glen, one of the most famous, well-known tracks in US road racing. And currently we have got the Mutts Nuts sat at the top of this leaderboard here. Provisional pole position on a 1 minute 40 dead. Did that lap right at the end of the session there. Nicely done. Pushes being bashed down by 7,000ths of a second. Grandad Steve's coming to the final part of his lap now. Let's see what Grandad Steve can put on the board as he's coming up towards the line. What is it going to be in the Ford for Grandad Steve? Crosses the line and he goes in pole there from Grandad Steve. Brilliant lap. Right at the end of the session. We just lost a driver there. I'm not sure who we lost, but somebody's left the session. That Akazod there's left. So that looks like that's going to be out then for the qualifying session. So we're going to have Grandad Steve on pole ahead of the Mutts Nuts. Beam Basher in third, but Disco Face fourth. Then Falguest in fifth. Aussie Albie will line up in P6 for this one. Avu Alfonso seventh with Wilfredo Flowers eighth. RDJ in ninth, and Diabetic Lamb completing their classification. A lovely lap there from Grandad Steve, just as he put that in right in the fun lockings of the session. Really well done to him. He'll be pretty chuffed with that, I'm sure. What is anybody going to be able to do about that now? The Mutts Nuts, Beam Basher, Disco Face. Surprising to see him down in P4. I know he's extremely quick around this track, but he's got it all to do here in this race. 31 laps of Watkins. Glen should equate to around a 40, probably about a 50 minutes to an hour, I would imagine. Probably just under an hour in terms of total length for the race. So it's going to be a long old stint for these drivers, and let's see how they're able to get on. I think it'll be about a 50-minute race here or there. So it's going to be a lot of time for these drivers to find out who is the best in these GTE cars around Watkins Glen tonight. But Grandad Steve setting the benchmark there in that qualifying session, does an excellent lap, putting it on pole by 0.3 of a second ahead of the Mutts Nuts. So Grandad Steve lining up at the front, the Mutts Nuts alongside him on the front row. Beam Basher, former champion of the GTEs, under a different alias though. He used to be under the alias of Smithy is Faster. He's now Beam Basher and will be looking to regain the title of GTE champion here at Motive Racing. Disco Face lining up alongside him on the second row. Falguest and Aussie Albie in fifth and sixth. Avo Alfonso and Wilfredo Flowers lining up on the fourth row, and RDJ and Diabetic Lamb will be rounding out the field for this one. Full damage on. These drivers know that the slightest little mistake will have devastating consequences here, so everybody's going to have to be on their A game if they want to make sure that they can be up there fighting towards the end of the race. Drop a like on the video, guys, if you like what you see, if you enjoy the action that you're watching at the moment, as we're just syncing up here, getting ready to go for the opening round of the GTEs here at Motive Racing. Here we go. The lights are about to go out, and it's lights out, and away we go now. And Grandad Steve looks like he's got Mutts Nuts looking to the outside here, coming up towards turn one. As the Mutts Nuts manage to get the jump, I think Grandad Steve's going to hold on to pole on the inside. No, the Mutts Nuts around the outside of turn one. Disco's already got ahead of Aussie Albie up into third. In fact, no, he didn't get ahead of Aussie Albie. You've got ahead of Beam Basher. Beam Basher's dropped down to P5 here on the opening lap. Not the start that he would have needed there. Disco up into third place though, getting ahead of Beam Basher. Aussie Albie following him through. The Mutts Nuts leading ahead of Grandad Steve, coming up towards the chicane here. So the Mutts Nuts has now got Grandad Steve looking back to his inside, and Grandad Steve's trying to come back at him here. The Ford versus Ford in towards the chicane. The BMW of Disco waiting in the wings behind these guys, but it looks like the Mutts Nuts can't hold on ahead of Grandad Steve. Grandad Steve gets his pole position back and is back up into the lead of this race here on lap one. Grandad Steve leads ahead of the Mutts Nuts. Disco third. Aussie Albie there in fourth place. Beam Basher has got Falguest waiting in the wings, having a look to the inside, can't get it done there. Wilfredo Flowers, Avo Alfonso's got RDJ fresh in him here in a battle for 8th place at the moment. Diabetic Lamb completing the field in 10th place. It's a very close field at the moment. Grandad Steve leads it ahead of the Mutts Nuts. Disco there in third. In fact, he's trying to defend from Beam Basher here is Disco, and Beam Basher's really no, he isn't, sorry, Disco's challenging at the front. Beam Basher's trying to defend from Aussie Albie, as Aussie Albie is putting the pressure here on Beam Basher. Aussie Albie looking to the inside of Beam Basher, can't get it done into the braking zone. Falguest with his lights on there in the background, letting Aussie Albie know that he's there and that he wants to get this position done. Wilfredo Flowers, Avo Alfonso currently dicing it out in 7th and 8th places. RDJ and Diabetic Lamb still rounding out the field there in P10. But it's been a pretty hectic first lap here. All the drivers are trying to jostle for position, as we see there. Falguest having a look on Aussie Albie, but it's tucked in behind for the time being. But very clean first lap from these drivers. I'm extremely impressed with the driving standards out there tonight. Absolutely brilliant stuff from these GTEs. Grandad Steve still in front of the Mutts Nuts. Disco and Beam Basher starting to try and reel these top three in at this point. Aussie Albie has been is still in P5. Wilfredo Flowers has is just behind Falguest, and looks as though Avo Alfonso has made a mistake. Oh no, Avo Alfonso in the wall, going to have to get himself back up going again, and it's going to be a long race for him now, but he's going to try and recover that time, I'm sure. Grandad Steve still leads ahead of the Mutts Nuts, coming up towards the chicane. Disco Face hot on these guys' heels, as the Mutts Nuts has a little look to the inside into the chicane, can't get it done at the moment. These guys just running almost three abreast coming into the chicane. Beam Basher running in 4th place, 1.3 seconds off the lead. He's 8 tenths behind Disco in 3rd place. These four have just kind of gapped Aussie Albie and Falguest a little bit now. Falguest still trying to get something done with Aussie Albie, hasn't been able to find a way through yet. These two Porsches just ahead of Wilfredo Flowers, who's now not got Alvaro Alfonso with him anymore. RDJ dropping off a little bit off of Wilfredo Flowers in the last lap or so. Diabetic Lamb still going around in P1 at the moment, and Alvaro Alfonso at the back having made that mistake. But it's nuts as just Disco's dropped off of the top two a little bit here. Disco's now got Beam Basher looking to his inside. Is Beam Basher going to throw one down the end? He's going to go very late on the brakes here. Oh, gets it stopped though. Brilliant move there from Beam Basher. Flash the lights there from Disco. He's clearly impressed with that one. But now Beam Basher up into that final podium spot there. These two 1.8 seconds off of the... Oh my goodness, look at that slide there. Wow, Ozzy Albie really did get that light up those rear tyres there. Flash the lights from him as Wilfredo Flowers looks to the inside, coming into the ultimate corner. And Wilfredo Flowers is up into 6th place there. Nicely done from him. Moves up a position. Grandad Steve still out in front, leads this race by 0.7 of a second. The Mutts Nuts continuing to stalk him around. Watkins, Glen, but still hasn't been able to get ahead of him. Grandad Steve was jumped off the line by the Mutts Nuts, but then managed to get the position done on him back again, coming up towards the chicane. Disco there running in that 3rd place. Beam Basher's made a mistake, I think, because he's dropped off a little bit and he's got a little bit of damage on the front of the car, so that may affect him ever so slightly. Not too much damage though. Looks to me like he's not going to be majorly affected by that. Vargas is looking to the outside, coming up on this long run towards the chicane. They're going to be side by side here. Vargas is going to have the straight line speed in the Porsche and swoops around the Ford up into 4th place. Wilfredo Flowers watching and waiting for his opportunity. Ozzy Albies made a couple of mistakes on that last lap, down to 7th place here in this race. RDJ still running in 8th, only a couple of seconds behind these guys and still very much in this race in the mid-pack. Diabetic Lamb 3 seconds behind RDJ, and Alvaro Alfonso rounding out the field at the moment. One mandatory pit stop in this race. Pit window wasn't announced, so that means that these guys can come in whenever they want to, seeing as it wasn't actually put in the chat. So Grandad C leads by 1.8 seconds to the Mutts Nuts. Disco Face still sat in 3rd place right now. Beam Basher's coming into the pits at the earliest possible opportunity to get that damage sorted out and put a fresh set of boots on. Wilfredo Flowers has dropped down to P10 here. Didn't actually see what happened there to him, but he's now dropped out a little bit. Still a long way to go though. Still 28 laps in this race and still plenty of time to bring himself back into the equation here in this race. D leads though by 1.8 seconds at the moment. Falguest into that final podium spot there. He's now within 5 seconds of the race leader, Grandad Steve. Falguest is also another man who's got a lot of credentials here in these GTEs. Was runner-up to Beam Basher in the championship the season that Beam Basher won the GTEs. So Falguest is also one who can definitely get the best out of these, and he's always driven the Porsche. He's a very quick man in that Porsche. RDJ looks like he's starting to get into a bit of a rhythm now, closed up onto the back of Disco a little bit. Disco must have made a mistake somewhere out there, because he's dropping back into the clutches of RDJ. Still 10 seconds off for the leaders at the moment is Disco, but still in a decent position here in this race. Steedo's managed to gap the Mutts Nuts a little bit. Got a couple of seconds to him out the front here. Falguest though matching the pace of Grandad Steve at the moment. RDJ looking to try and pile the pressure on Disco if he can. Oh, RDJ's lost it though, into the wall a little bit. Oh no, let's get off of him, let's stop watching him. Commentator's curse there, definitely sticking again, as he was trying to put the pressure on Disco, but just had a little bit of a moment there. Disco continues on his way there in 4th place. RDJ has got it going again, still a long way to go, still lots of opportunities in this race for him to bring himself back into this one. Steve leads the Mutts Nuts at the moment by 2 seconds. Race just settling down a little bit. Not really a whole lot going on at this moment in time. Diabetic Lamb running a couple of seconds ahead of Wilfredo Flowers. Wilfredo Flowers looks like he's going quicker than him though. On the previous lap he ruled him in quite a bit. And Wilfredo Flowers, we haven't seen too much of him on the Motive channel, to be honest with you. We saw him, he raced in the GT3s a couple of seasons ago. He raced in a couple of the races before he had to withdraw from the championship. And we saw glimmers of promise from this man in the Ferrari, but ultimately it just, because we didn't see enough of him, we didn't really get an idea of what he's like as a driver. But racing at the top level in these GTEs amongst some seasoned pros in these cars is never easy. And currently he's giving a real good go of it, so you've got to give him credit for that. So we've still got everybody out on the track that we started with here. These drivers doing an absolutely brilliant job tonight out on track. Absolute hats off to every single one of them. Drop a like on the video, guys, if you appreciate what these guys are doing out on track right now. To GrandaSD, to the Mutt's Nuts, to Falgas, to Disco, to Aussie Albi, to Alvo Alfonso, to DiabeTKU, to Wilfredo Flowers, to RDJ, and to Beambasher. They are driving absolutely superbly, every single one of them. They're all keeping it very clean, and there haven't been too many incidents. In fact, everybody's just been respecting each other brilliantly out on track in this race. And GrandaSD still in the lead. He's now gapping the Mutt's Nuts by quite a bit. He's now got 3.5 seconds, so GrandaSD looks to be the unstoppable force here in this race so far. Disco, fastest man out on track at the moment, did a 1:40.7 on the last lap. Disco is by no means out of the race at the moment, 25 laps left to go. And I know Disco is one of the best in the GTE category on Project Cars too, so he's not going to give up until the Fat Lady sings, which will be on the last lap once the checkered flag's been waved. But Disco, we saw him yesterday in the ill-fated GT3 League, did take the win at Monza. GT3s, we're not sure whether we're going to continue with that because the numbers were pretty poor and it's too early on a Saturday. Honestly, it's too much to squeeze in on a Saturday. We might just stick with the Clios and the LMP2s and have it at that for our Saturday night show. But Disco did really show that what sort of driver he is yesterday night, and took his first win at Motive, I believe. Could be wrong on that, but I think it was his first win at Motive. And he's currently within 10 seconds of GrandaSD out the front, so Disco continuing to put the work in here in this one. Made a small mistake earlier on, but he's certainly made up for that. He's now putting in consistent lap times here. As Falgas has closed up onto the back of the Mutt's Nuts, we know the Falgas is very quick in that Porsche, and he is really getting that thing flying around Watkins Glen at the moment. Could be almost within a second of the Mutt's Nuts as these two are coming out the final corner to complete their 6th lap of the race, skimming the board a little bit there with Falgas, but keeping it just about pointing in the right direction there. As Wilfredo Flowers has closed up onto Aussie Albi a little bit. Aussie Albi also just reeling in Alvo Alfonso a little bit now. So Aussie Albi continuing to try and reel in Alvo Alfonso. Wilfredo Flowers there sat in 7th. He's got a couple of seconds back to DiabeTKU running in 8th place right now. RDJ in 9th. Obviously Beambash has already been into the pits to make his first pit stop of the race. Last lap, GrandaSD, the race leader, was not the quickest actually. Disco Face was the quickest again. 0.2 quicker than GrandaSD, Falgas and the Mutt's Nuts both in the 1:41s though. So these 4 guys currently really showing everybody how it's done in these GTE cars tonight. Brilliant display of driving from GrandaSD though. He's been the most consistent so far out there. As Beambash is still the only driver yet to have pitted so far in this race. I mean, our pit stop around Watkins Glen is around 30 seconds, so Beambasher, we're expecting him to probably filter in somewhere around P5 as it stands, but still plenty of time for Beambasher to get those laps done. In fact, Beambasher was in the 1:41's last lap as well, so he's not too far off the leader's pace at the moment. This Beambasher could be a contender here in this race, for sure. But GrandaSD out in front, doing the business. 4.5 seconds is his gap over the Mutt's Nuts at the moment. And Falgas now looks like he's well and truly within a second here. Falgas a little bit quicker than the Mutt's Nuts on the last lap, but these two very evenly matched at this stage in the race, gotta say. It looks like Falgas is just trying to bring himself into this fight, get himself in striking distance. He doesn't want to lose too much of the front grip being in that toe, being in the slipstream. When you're in the dirty air of the car in front, it can have very, very disastrous consequences. As it looks as though Wilfredo Flowers is now pretty close onto the back of deedeeTKU. Wilfredo's got a bit of damage though on the front of the car. His bumper's not hanging off at this point, but the bonnet looks like it's taken a bit of a pounding. He's running 3 seconds ahead of RaKiMaJe, who looks like he's closing in a little bit on deedeeTKU and Wilfredo at this point. GrandaStee still pumping in the consistent lap times out the front, 141s, low 141s. Disco though, again the quickest man on the last lap. Only driver to be in the 1 minute 40s on that previous lap. Could all be down to the strategy here for Disco. If he can get his engine damage to 2% and bring it in and get the cheap pit stop, then he might be able to gain some ground on the leaders. I know from racing alongside Disco in Simplays GT3s on a Thursday night, I know that Disco is very much aware of that pit stop glitch, which you can get if you pit on 2% engine damage. You can get as little as a 0.7 of a second pit stop. So he'll definitely be looking to try and execute that knowledge and make it work for him tonight. But we can see Falguest here really close on the back of the nuts now. These two coming down towards the chicane, definitely going to have that one. But for the time being, I think he's a little bit too far back coming into the chicane to get the move done into second, and it's going to tuck in behind him for now. But Falguest just waiting there, waiting for an opportunity here on the nuts. These two still keeping GrandaStee honest, but GrandaStee's a little bit quicker than them two at this point in the race. GrandaStee is in the 1 minute 40s. Disco last time around a little bit slower than GrandaStee. GrandaStee was a tenth quicker than Disco, but those two are definitely the fastest two out on track right now. And if Disco hadn't made that mistake a few laps ago, he would definitely be with Stee at this point, I reckon. But Falguest still trying to hassle the back of the nuts and find his way through up into second if he can. RaKiMaJe looks like he's onto the back of Wilfredo Flowers now as well. So this could get interesting between these two. RaKiMaJe looking out to the outside, looking to the inside, trying to switch back if he can. Is he going to try and throw one down the inside here? RaKiMaJe, has he got the confidence on the brakes to go for it? Has a little look to the inside of Wilfredo. RaKiMaJe is of Project Cars 2. I think he went on to iRacing for a little while. He races on the as well. And he's come back to Project Cars 2 lately. He's got a lot of friends on this game, and this crew who are racing here, he usually hangs about with them quite a bit. So RaKiMaJe kind of just probably get into grips with Project Cars 2 again, but he seems to be gaining confidence every single lap. Seems to be getting a little bit quicker each time around. He's going to have a bit of slipstream here coming down the start-finish straight. Is he going to be able to go for a move here on Wilfredo Flowers? Has a little look to the inside once again, trying to distract him in the mirrors a little bit, feints to the inside, tags the curve on the inside ever so slightly. But for now, it looks like can't get around him, and he's kind of just being held up a little bit here by Wilfredo. These two 10 seconds ahead of Smithy, running in 10th, and Smithy's lost a bit of time to GrandaStee. He was 46 seconds behind the race leader. He's now 50 seconds behind. So maybe he's just starting to struggle a little bit. He's got had a bit of a bump here by the looks of it as well. Not massive, he's not got huge damage, but he's definitely lost a bit of paint on the front right hand side of that Ford. Nuts still running ahead of Falguest. Falguest maybe just playing it safe here, not engaging too much with the nuts. He knows that their best opportunity of gaining places is to just run together and not slow each other down too much. They don't want to trip over each other. Fastest man out on track is still Disco. Was almost a second quicker than GrandaStee on the previous lap. Let's see what they're doing on this particular lap. Falguest has dropped off of nuts quite a bit on that lap, 7/10 slower than him. Disco still lapping in the 1 minute 40s and was half a second quicker than any of the top three on that last lap. So Disco face is, oh no, hold on, sorry, that's wrong. The nuts was actually on a 141 dead. So Disco a tenth quicker than the nuts, half a second quicker than the race leader GrandaStee, and quite a bit quicker than Falguest. Falguest didn't have the best of laps on the last time around. Alfonso running best of the rest at the moment in 5th place there in the Ferrari. Good drive from Alfonso tonight. He's come over to the GTEs, used to race with us in the touring cars on a Sunday night, and he's stuck with us here for these GTEs, so great to have him once again. Regularly races on our Sunday slot here at Motive Racing. Hopefully for next week we'll have a full grid out on track. We'll probably do a little bit of public lobbies and GTEs, get some clean drivers in and see who we can get in for this GTE. Obviously a great bunch of cars, and always provides some of the closest exciting racing on project cars too. I'm just noticing there on the timing board that RDJ has managed to get ahead of Wilfredo Flowers now, so he's now into some clean air and can try and maximise that Porsche's potential. So let's see where he can get to here in this race. But RDJ, we know he's a very quick driver. He's incredibly good in the GTEs as well. I mean, we've seen it in the past. When he gets into the zone, when he finds his groove, he is a really quick dude. And at the moment, he's gapping Wilfredo Flowers and Diabetic Lamb by quite a bit. But Diabetic Lamb with his headlights on, definitely looking to put Wilfredo under a little bit of pressure here. But Diabetic Lamb's last up looks like it was a 1:49, so I don't know what happened there. Definitely didn't look like he lost time to Wilfredo, but supposedly he did. But Beanbash is still running in P10 at the moment. He's 7 seconds off of this battle and will probably be pulling up on them shortly if they don't come into the pits and make their pit stop soon. But Beanbash are currently the only driver out there to have come into the pits, and as I say that, Alfonso changes that. He's now into the pits to make his stop. That'll promote Ozzy Albi up into P5. It'll promote RDJ into 6th. Wilfredo Flowers and Diabetic Lamb into 7th and 8th places, and Beanbash will come around to move into 9th place here in this race. Alfonso will be temporarily at the back, but that will be before obviously Ozzy Albi, RDJ, Wilfredo Flowers and Diabetic Lamb have all been into the pits to make their stops. Valgas still on the back of the Mutts Nuts at the moment. These two still running very closely within each other. Diabetic Lamb is very close on the back of Wilfredo Flowers now. Let's go on board with Diabetic Lamb as he's coming up the hill towards the chicane. Let's see if he's close enough to get anything done with him. In that slipstream he is. Let's see, that closing speed's pretty efficient there, but the corner comes just in time there for Wilfredo Flowers, and Diabetic Lamb tucks in behind for now. RDJ still running in P6 at the moment. It's got Wilfredo and Diabetic Lamb not too far off of him, but RDJ, now that he's got some clean air, seems to be really getting the laps down here. As we see Disco in the pits, so Disco's getting that pit stop done. Disco fastest man out on the track the last few laps, and last time around he gained another 2/10 on Grandad Steve. So Disco is the mission right now. Look at that. Hey, he's gone and done it again. That 0.7 second pit stop there from Disco at Disco Face, that's going to gain him hand over fist over the Mutts Nuts and Falguest. It will be time will tell us the answer as to whether or not the Mutts Nuts and Falguest are going to get that glitchy pit stop trick. They're dropping off of Grandasty a little bit. Grandasty continuing to put in the consistent lap times. Beanbasher though, quickest lap of the race so far, I think, at 1:40.5. Let's just have a quick little look at the timings. So Beanbasher, yeah, he did just set the fastest lap of the race so far on 1:40.5. Pit stop around this track, well, we know what it is now, don't we? Because Alfonso just came in. He was a little bit ahead of Ozzy Albi when he came in. I reckon he was about, I don't know. Actually, no, Disco is probably the fairest representation. Disco was about 9 seconds behind the leader when he came in. He's now 22 seconds behind, so Beanbasher probably going to come out around 25 seconds behind Grandad Steve when Grandad Steve comes in to make his pit stop. So Beanbasher might be able to just have a look down the order to figure this out. I reckon Beanbasher's in a net 5th in this race at the moment. He's got work to do if he wants to catch up to, well, to be honest, the top 4 kind of seem to be in a world of their own at the moment. I think he'd have to really push like crazy to get up to them. So maybe that's a bit beyond him at this point. But these guys still going after here, lap 13, going on to lap 14 of the race. Grandad Steve still has the lead of the race at the moment. 6 seconds is gap to the Muttnuts, continuing to pull away from these two, the Muttnuts and Falguest, who are still going at it for second place. But Falguest just hasn't been able to find a way through ahead of the Muttnuts so far. He's been really pushing him the last few laps, but hasn't been able to find that gap, hasn't been able to exploit the space on the track. It's quite a tightly cramped track. Watkins Glen, it's like, I mean, it's a purpose-built racetrack, but it's almost like it's got so many characteristics like a street circuit. I mean, the walls are so close to you. You've got bits of grass there which you wouldn't find on a street circuit, granted, but it's very street circuit-like in its characteristics, and just the consequences for losing the car are very akin to a street circuit. But Falguest currently in that slipstream here after the Muttnuts, coming down to the end of the back straight. Still a little bit too far back to go for the move at the moment. Just continuing to bide his time and wait for his opportunity to come. As it looks as though Beambasher's just moving ahead of Wilfredo Flowers and Diabetic Lamb. And next up for him will be RDJ. Beambasher obviously will want to clear this traffic as soon as he can, because he's made his pit stop already. RDJ now starting to find his pace here. Oh, he gets a bit of a slide there though, RDJ. And he would probably lose out to Beambasher. Is he going to lose out to Wilfredo as well? He does. So Wilfredo moves up into 7th. RDJ Lowe's allowed back past him, so I think Wilfredo may have made the move off the track, potentially. These two side by side, though, coming to the right-hander. And Wilfredo Flowers is going to complete the move ahead of RDJ. Good racing from those two as they came through that corner. RDJ, though, is going to cut back to the inside, try and put him under a bit of pressure here. Coming up to the next braking zone, but it's not quite close enough there. Coming into the corner for now. So, Beambasher and Avo Alfonso have both been into the pits. So has Disco. That just leaves Aussie Albi, Wilfredo Flowers, RDJ, Diabetic Lamb, and obviously the top 3 still need to come into the pits as well. So we've had 4 pit stops so far. 6 drivers still need to come in and make their pit stops. Falguest still on the back of them. RDJ still pressuring Wilfredo Flowers for this 7th spot here. He's lost a bit of time on this lap so far as RDJ to Wilfredo. And these two, the Muttnuts and Falguest, continuing to drop off of Grandad Steve a little bit. Disco, though, is lapping quicker than Grandad Steve. Not much quicker, but he's consistently just that little bit quicker than Grandad Steve. And if he continues his pace, he'll definitely have Steve kind of like looking over his shoulder, if you like. So it's looking like definitely Disco Face has got the pace to win this race. Could potentially live to rue the mistake that he made near the start of the race. That 4, I think, had a bit of a spin. Didn't get any damage from it, but not cost him a bit of time. Dropped him back by about 10 seconds. And he's currently, I think, about a net 5 seconds off of the race leader, Grandad Steve. So that could make all the difference when we get to the end of this race. He'll be hoping it doesn't. He is putting in some very consistent quick lap times at the moment, which are incredibly impressive and exciting to see just how he's doing this at the moment. Just going to flash his lights there. He's probably watching the stream. He knows we're watching him at the moment. Continuing to bring the gap down to Grandad Steve, 6/10 quicker than the race leader on the last time around. So Muttnuts and Flowers, if they know about Disco at this point, they're going to be a bit wary of him, because I think Disco is almost a dead cert now to jump these guys when they come into the pits. Disco's probably done enough over this pit stop window to get ahead of the Muttnuts and Falguest, so they could end up being in a battle for that final podium spot once all is said and done here in this race. Grandad Steve continues to have the lead, but I don't know if Grandad Steve's listening to the stream. If he is, he'll know what Disco's up to, but if not, he's none the wiser. But he is coming in. So Grandad Steve stopping the car, slowing it down to 37 miles an hour, and he's into the pits. The Muttnuts and Falguest coming over the line to complete their 16th lap of the race, and Muttnuts takes the lead for now. Falguest into second, but the big question here is has Grandad Steve done enough to stay ahead of Disco Face? Disco's done bits over the pit window, did the 0.7 of a second pit stop, so he's done everything he needs to do here. Here he comes out of the final corner. GrandaSte's, oh, he's off, but from Disco throughout this pit window is now very much in striking distance to take the win here in the opening round of the GTEs here at Motive Racing. Falguest still just behind the Mutsnuts, still hasn't found a way through at the moment. These two running within 0.2 of a second of each other. Avo Alfonso, Wilfredo Flowers and RDJ still going at it here as these guys are battling it out over P7. Absolutely excellent stuff from these guys as RDJ still in that slipstream of Avo Alfonso. Wilfredo Flowers tucking him, he's looking to the outside of RDJ. RDJ's going to try and cover that off as Wilfredo Flowers looks to the outside into the chicane. Is he going to be able to go around the long way here? He is. Look at that, beautifully done there from Wilfredo Flowers. Avo Alfonso is now starting to gap these guys a little bit since getting ahead of them. Wilfredo and RDJ though putting on a great show here for eighth spot here in this race. As Falguest is on his way into the pits now to make his pit stop. Look at this, what a great scrap between these two as RDJ's, he's made a mistake, RDJ's made a mistake and he's dropped off of Wilfredo a little bit there. He's now dropped down to behind Diabetic Lamb and RDJ's made a bit of a mistake there. Probably needs to, I'd say probably bring it into the pits now and just kind of go again, gather yourself together and go again, but that's not going to plan at all for him in that little moment there. Disco's still running in third, he's currently a second and a half off the back of GrandaSte. The Mutsnuts though is the race leader at this point. Falguest has come out only 4 seconds off of GrandaSte and Disco, so Falguest is not out of this by any stretch of the imagination. Could still be a contender here in the battle for this win. Aussie Albi into the pits to make his pit stop. We're expecting he'll come out in last for now in P10, but obviously we've got a few drivers still yet to come in. Wilfredo, Diabetic Lamb and RDJ all need to come in at some point before the end of this race. Beam Basher in 5th place. We knew that he'd come out around there. He's a long way off of the leaders though. He's about 25 seconds off of the net leader, GrandaSte. But P5 in the opening race of the season wouldn't be too shabby for Beam Basher. It's early days yet, and he is a former champion of the GTE division here at Motive. So I'm sure we'll be seeing him be a contender in this season. Aussie Albi and RDJ both in the box at the moment. The Mutsnuts is into the pits, so he's coming in and getting that pit stop done here at the end of lap 18. That will now make the all representative GrandaSte. These two got 3.5 seconds back to Falguest, who is really getting the pace down. Now he hasn't got the Mutsnuts in front of him. He's got this real opportunity to go for it. Mutsnuts has come out of the pits. He has come out a little way behind this battle now, so he's almost 10 seconds off at the back of GrandaSte at this point. Looks like the Mutsnuts might be out of that battle for the win. He's got Beam Basher 14 seconds behind him on the road, so he'll want to make sure that he can stay ahead of Beam Basher before we get to the end of this race. Beam Basher has been really getting the laps down since the early laps didn't go to plan. He's kind of just been quietly bringing himself back into it, and he could be in for a top 4. Only 14 seconds behind the Mutsnuts, so it's doable for him. But back to the battle for the lead. GrandaSte still just ahead of Disco, but these two have got Falguest reeling them in. GrandaSte has been leading this one since the opening few corners. He obviously got jumped off the line by Mutsnuts, but then managed to get the move back down on him coming into the chicane, and has led the race since the first lap to this current point. Disco Face though got the best pit stop of pretty much everybody in this field, and he is really giving it everything here in this one. GTEs is Disco's favourite category. He managed to win in the GT3 class yesterday at Monza. Not as big of a fan of the GT3s as he is of the GTEs. This is his creme de la creme. And right now he is on it here. He's looking to try and get this done on Grandad Steve. Grandad Steve's going to have to defend coming down the start-finish straight because Disco's got a great run here. Is he going to try and drive around the outside? The BMW we know is quick through the corners, but so is the Ford. These two cars are a little bit underpowered down the straights, but when they're matched against each other, you can see that they are actually very, very close indeed. But for the time being, Grandad Steve fending him off, parking his car in all the right places, and Disco just cannot seem to find a way around him at the moment. He's going to try and get the run coming up towards the chicane. If he can stay in that slipstream, if he can pull out at just the right moment, he might be able to get around him and up into the lead. Disco Face is going to look to the outside into the chicane. Grandad Steve once again defending that inside line. Disco goes for the cut back. Grandad Steve's parking his car. No! Grandad Steve's lost it! Oh no! Grandad Steve does tack the side of Disco a little bit. He's off into the wall and he gets it pointing in the right direction again, but that's such a shame there for Grandad Steve. And Disco waits for him. Disco is waiting for him. I don't know whether he needed to do that, if I'm honest with you. Or maybe Disco maybe Disco had a moment of his... Oh no, he has. Look at that. His front bonnet is hanging off a little bit. So maybe Disco did have a bit of damage from that. I thought that he got away with that one. Grandad Steve definitely got the worst of the incident itself, but in terms of the damage, Disco's got a bit of damage. Oh, it's Grandad Steve's into the wall. That's giving the Nuts P3. Oh, it's starting to unravel a little bit there for Grandad Steve. And in all of that, with those two having that moment, it's given Falguest the lead of the race. This is incredible.
I'm saying that, man. That looked bad.
Falguest now has the lead. And this is absolutely brilliant stuff for Falguest. Patience is the name of the game. And he now has P1 here in this race. Falguest is going to be absolutely chuffed with that one for sure. He's kind of had that one gifted to him on a plate a little bit, but he's really had to work in this race to keep himself in striking distance. Has been getting those laps down since the pit stops, and he's coming over the line to start lap 21. A 1:41 from Falguest. If he can do consistent lap times from here on in, he'll have a very strong chance here in this race. Disco into the pits to get that front damage repaired. That is going to promote Beam Basher up into 4th. Disco should come out in P5, I think, ahead of Avo Alfonso. Is Grandad Steve going to come in? I think Grandad Steve is going to come in. So Disco should be able to come out in P4. Again, I think with that incident between Disco and Steve, I think it's got to be put down to a racing incident. I mean, they were side by side. Steve got a bit of oversteer in mid-corner and just lost it into Disco, and then Disco's knock-on after that incident kind of just caused him to crash, I think, on the next corner or just a couple of hundred metres after, maybe, from where the incident took place. Grandad Steve then went into the wall after that, after having that big moment, which was probably caused by the damage that he had on his Ford, and ultimately those two now dropping out of the equation a little bit. Disco's on his way now. Question is, Disco, can he recover the positions on Alfonso and Wilfredo Flowers before we get to the end of this race? Those guys not too far up the road from him. So Disco, if he can really get the hammer down in this Ferrari, not in the Ferrari, in the BMW even, if he can get the hammer down, he might be able to catch up to the Ferrari of Wilfredo Flowers, and maybe even have Alfonso, who is 12 seconds up the road from him. We know he's got the a pace advantage now. Alfonso. Disco is able to do 140s, 141s. So we'll have to wait and see on that one. But he wants to try and clear Wilfredo as quickly as he possibly can, that is for sure. But with all this, not only has it meant that Falguest is now leading this race, it also means that Beam Basher is onto the podium. It's given the Mutsnuts second place. This full damage for these GTEs really has shaken it up a little bit. Disco's picked off Wilfredo up into 5th place, so he's gained a position there. And Avo Alfonso driving a brilliant race, very consistent so far in this one in 4th place. Regular from the Touring Car Championship has joined as a stayed loyal to Motive Racing and stuck with us for these GTEs, and he's doing a very good job right now. Currently about 30 seconds off of the lead, but consistently putting it in, and if he keeps doing the practice, then I'm sure he'll be able to catch up to these guys over the course of the season, as the rest of these guys out on track are seasoned veterans in these GTEs. I said it before and I'll say it again. Guys like Falguest, the Nuts, Beam Basher, Disco, Diabetic Lamb, Benesti, Aussie Albie, RaKiMaJe, these guys raced season after season after season in these cars back in the day here at Motive, so they know a thing or two about these GTE cars. And Avo Alfonso's really jumped in at the deep end and has managed to swim very efficiently. But for the time being, it's Falguest leading the race by 7 seconds to the Mutsnuts. Mutsnuts has got 12 seconds back to Beam Basher in 3rd. And And then you've got obviously Alfonso in P4 at the moment. Disco running in 5th place here in this race.
Yeah, because you can't.
Disco's managed to gap Wilfredo Flowers a little bit since getting ahead of him a few laps ago. Got about a second and a half back to him at this point. deedeeTKU 36 seconds behind Wilfredo Flowers in 7th place. Grandad Steve running in 8th after that damage that he got with Disco in that collision that they had coming through the chicane. Aussie Ali running in 9th place at the moment here, and RDJ completing the classification in 10th place at the moment. Falgast out in front doing the business, looking like he's going to be able to convert an opportunity into a race win. So we've got 9 laps including this one that we're currently on at the moment. And Falgast just being in the right place at the right time, able to capitalise when Disco and Steve had their moment. And I'll say it before and I'll say it again, it looked like a bit of a racing incident, to be honest, between Disco and Steve. It was just, Steve had a bit of oversteer, Disco got hit in the side lip.
The actual little, you know, the bit you press, that actually fell out. Yeah, well, he's managed to turn the lights. Did he do it? Should we turn it on?
Turn it off.
And it done, luckily, and he was turning it off.
Jumping to a party.
My last message had been more than replied. I just realised I've been waiting nearly a year for that panel. But I put, so when I done it, I photographed it, and when I sent the email, I tagged my laptop in it.
There's the Ford of deedeeTKU just exiting the pits there, just been lapped there by Falgast, the race leader. deedeeTKU's about 5 seconds ahead of Aussie Albie running in 9th place here, so Aussie Albie could still be in striking distance to pick up a P9 here in this one. Loving the full damage though, really shaking up the races a little bit, makes it a little bit more unpredictable. Beanbasher currently the fastest man out on track. I said earlier on, Beanbasher, if he really gets the pace down, might get ahead of the Mutsnuts. And to be fair, Beanbasher, you've got to give him credit in this race. just goes to show, if you have an incident at the start of a race, never give up, just keep pushing to the limit, and you could eventually get the reward. So coming in towards the final 5 laps of this race, Falguest leads, having been fortuitously gifted the lead of the race due to Disco and Granad's little incident coming through this corner on around lap 18, 19 I think it was, that they came together, and Falguest since then has just had to bring it around really. It's been pulling out the gap consistently to the Mutsnuts. Mutsnuts was actually a 10th quicker than on the previous lap, but Falguest has got that 10-second cushion, and that should be enough here in this race. Beambasher though is really reeling the Mutsnuts in quite a rate now. Only 6 seconds separating those two in second and third places. I think it's going to go down to the wire, this one. This is going to be pretty tight. Beambasher's closing in quite a lot per lap, but saying that though, I mean, he did actually lose a bit on the last lap. I think that might have been a penalty there. He might have got a time penalty. So Beambasher's actually got a 5-second time penalty, so he only has to catch up to the Mutsnuts, but he will also have to pull out a 3-second gap as well if he'd want to finish in front of him, so it might be a bit of a tall task for Beambasher here in this race. I think the Mutsnuts should be alright in that P2 for this opening round of the season. Falguest has got a 5-second penalty, but he is 10 seconds clear of the Mutsnuts, so he should be alright to take the opening round of the season here at Watkins Glen as it stands. Disco closing in a little bit on goodness me. Disco is closing in on Alfonso, but I don't think it's going to be enough for him. I think it'll be too little too late, because I mean, he's about 2 seconds a lap faster, so I don't know. I mean, the gap's about 6 seconds. He's got a 2-second penalty. I don't know, if he can get up to him and then pass him pretty quickly, then he might be able to get P4 in this race, Disco, but it's going to be a real push. It wouldn't be easy at all. He'd have to really throw that thing around if he wants to get P4 out of this race, but 5th place wouldn't be too bad for him. But he'll be so frustrated with how this one's gone. I mean, he was in that battle with Granad's. He had the pace of Granad's and caught up to him, looked to have the move done, and then D just got a little bit of oversteer, went into the side of him, And unfortunately, that's all she wrote for that one. Grandad Steve ended up with some severe damage of his own. Oh, he's not from he's had a made mistake there coming out of the first corner, and that has given Disco the position up into 4th place. So just we're speculating whether he'd have the pace to close up onto him and to overtake him. Disco has had that one given to him there. He's now got about a 2-second gap to Alfonso, so that will be enough to see him take the win, even with the time penalties. So Disco Fakes up into 4th, and gaining another position there. He'll be pretty happy with that one for sure. So Disco in 4th, Grandad Steve, the man who we had that collision with, running in 7th place at the moment. Steve's about 5 seconds behind Wilfredo Flowers, but he's got a 1 second penalty, so he'd need to not only get ahead of Wilfredo Flowers, he'd have to pull out a second of a gap to him as well before he gets in the checkered flag. He's got 3.5 laps left to go in this race as Grandad Steve, so it's doable. The pace he's going right now, he could definitely manage that. So I'll have to watch that one and see. Aussie Albie going pretty quickly at the moment, down in P8 though. Hasn't been the race he would have wanted, but he's certainly had the pace of the leaders. We know he's quick in these GTE cars. Hopefully in the next one he will be up there fighting in the thick of it. Disco there's already pulled out almost 3 seconds here to Alfonso, so he looks like he should be okay and all set to take that 4th place here in this opening race of the season. As Wilfredo's just putting a lap there on, looks to be RDJ's had a moment, he's lost his bonnet. I think he's probably gone into the pit wall, because otherwise he would have come into the pits. So he must have hit the pit wall and then been at the point of no return there, but he's moving well out of the way there. So Grandad Steve flashed his lights as he came through. Still in good spirits despite obviously on the penultimate lap of this race. He's got RDJ there's just ahead of him, just moving on off onto the grass there to move it aside for the leaders. Aussie Albie's just behind Falguest there, he's just had a lap put on him there by the race leader. But Falguest in supreme isolation out the front, almost 11 seconds of a gap here to the Mutts Nuts at the moment, as the Mutts Nuts is just coming around the right left in the middle sector, just put a lap there on one of the Ferraris, which would be the Ford. The Ford of Diabetic Lamb. What am I on about? I'm going crazy, honestly. But the Mutts Nuts there, putting a lap there on Diabetic Lamb. Beam Basher there in the background, still closing in on the Mutts Nuts, but I don't think he's going to get there in time. I think he's going to run out of laps. The Mutts Nuts should have that one done. Grandad Steve looks like he's close on the back of Wilfredo. Oh, as we see Diabetic Lamb losing the car, gets it spun round and facing the right way. But he has had a big moment there. Oh my goodness! Look at that in the background there. You've got. Oh my goodness! Everybody seems to be losing control of the car at the end of this race. Lots of calamities as Diabetic Lamb loses the car out of the third to last corner. But Falguest is on the final lap of the race. Got just half a lap left to go here as he's doing a little bit of weaving there back straight towards the chicane. Enjoying himself a little bit too much. He wants to be careful. He doesn't want to throw this race win away on the final lap for sure. But he's got enough of a gap that he could probably afford to hit the wall, get a bit of damage, limp round for the final lap and still win the race. And Falguest will definitely be counting his chickens after this one, with Disco having had that collision with Grandad Steve, which kind of just gifted him the lead. But Falguest has had to drive a very disciplined race, and to be fair, he had to be pretty close. He was matching the two leaders when they came together. He was only about 3 or 4 seconds behind them. So the job that he's done has been superb. A little bit of flash of the lights there, doing a bit of showboating. Clearly feels that he's got this one in the bag, which he has, to be fair. So 3 corners left to go for Falguest, a left and a right-hand corner before he comes out onto the start-finish straight, tags that tyre barrier there, really skimming it, getting a little bit too close for comfort into the penultimate corner. Falguest, former runner-up in the GTE League here at Motive Racing, always a contender in these cars, very, very quick across the board in every category, in the touring cars and the Clios as well, up towards the line, a flash of the lights from Falguest in the Porsche. He takes round 1 of the season here at Watkins Glen. What a brilliant drive from Falguest. The Mutt's Nuts coming in towards the final corner. It's going to be a second place finish for him. He had Beam Basher reeling him in all the way to the flag, but he's going to hold him off. It's great to have him out on track. P5 for Álvaro Alfonso. He'll only improve as the season goes on in these GTEs. Grandad Steve coming out the final corner. It's going to be a P6 here for him. In the end, after the collision with Disco, cost him the win, cost him a podium. Wilfredo Flowers is coming through the final half a lap now by the looks of it, and he is on the lead lap. So he's going to finish the race as he's just moving past Ozzy Albi there. I think Ozzy Albi's finished, but Wilfredo doesn't appear to be, so Wilfredo did start the last lap, but then has since dropped off, so I think that's the race done then. So that's going to be that then for the session. Fabio Salto joined, but joined too late, unfortunately, as did DJ Phil. DJ Phil didn't join either, so those two missed out. We were supposed to have 12 cars starting, we ended up having 10, so Falguest takes the win there, and does it brilliantly. In the end, Mutt's Nuts takes second, Beam Basher completing the podium. Disco takes 4th place and doesn't get the fastest lap. Grandad Steve got the fastest lap by 0.02 of a second. Such close pace between those two. Those two were the quickest out on track tonight, Disco and Grandad Steve. It looked like they were going to fight out the victory until they came together. About lap 20, I think it was, they came together. Álvaro Alfonso takes 5th, Grandad Steve 6th. Wilfredo Flowers in 7th with Ozzy Albi 8th. Diabetic Lamb and RDJ completing the classification. Big thank you to all the drivers. Huge congratulations to Falguest on staying the distance there and picking him off as everybody in front of him made mistakes. Really great driving from Falguest, very quick as well tonight in these GTEs. Thank you to all the viewers, to those of you who've chimed in on the stream, like the video. If you enjoy what you see, then please drop a like, subscribe to the Motive Racing channel, and if you want to get involved, then be sure to go to www.motiveracing.com. We've got about 3 or 4 spaces in this GTE league still available, so if you'd like to be one of these drivers out on the track for next week for round 2 of the season, then make sure you head over to www.motiveracing.com, as we said, and sign yourself up as a driver. Get involved in the on-track action that you see here tonight. But next week we'll be at Fuji for round 2. Join us same time, same place, 7:15. We'll be getting underway for this. Once again, a big thank you. We'll see you in the next one, guys. Have a great evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and see ya.